Hello, you wonderful humans. Thank you for being here. I'm Drew Detzner. I'm the owner and one of the clinicians here at 3D Wellness. It's Wednesday, it's 7 o'clock. It's time for Wednesday weekly workshop where we ask Drew anything. If this is your first time checking one of these out, here's how they go. You get to chat in questions, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube. If you're not comfortable chatting in a question, you can call in a question. The phone number is right up here. And those questions will get answered live on the air. We have the incomparable Lori Two Boots LeClaire here with us helping. She's reading off those questions to me. She's making sure that they get answered. As long as there are questions coming in, the workshop keeps going. When the questions dry up, the workshop is over. We always start though with letting you know what we're doing in clinic this week. So we've had a couple of really good successes in clinic this week, and I wanted to talk to you about them. First one was constipation. If you've ever dealt with this, you're going to really understand this. This particular client, they were moving their bowels just once a week. Oh, so yeah, they were uncomfortable. They were pretty uncomfortable. That's how often they were going when I met them. I met them 2 months ago. Now, they're getting 6 a week. All right, so it's not perfect yet. For those of you who are wondering what my opinion on the matter is, we want at least 1 bowel movement a day. We never want to have more than 3 bowel movements in a day. So to go from once a week to 6 a week, it's a pretty fantastic change. This client goes, you know what? I thought I was going to have to buy all these new pants. Turns out I just needed to poop more. Next one on here is fatigue. And this one really hit this person at that 1 to 2 p.m. time of day. This client in particular, what they said was, hey, I used to do Red Bulls at lunch all the time. It's that midday pick-me-up, got me through the rest of the day. They're not needing the Red Bulls anymore to get through their day. And they're actually going to the gym at lunch. That's a pretty big turnaround. Been working with that client pretty consistently since May. So it's a little bit longer of a process, but it's incredible to see that they went from needing a Red Bull to get through their day to being able to exercise at the gym at lunchtime. Sleep. Sleep came up with a bunch of people. So the note I have down here is I want to make sure people are thinking about sleep in terms of how are you falling asleep? Are you staying asleep? And does it seem like it is restful sleep? Because there's quite a few different things on the market that are natural to help you sleep and get better rest, but they often get confused. Melatonin is a really popular one. Melatonin is all about helping you fall asleep. It does very little for helping you stay asleep, for example. Pain, we saw some joint pain and some vascular pain. I want to make sure people understand this. Vascular means anything with blood vessels, so like veins and arteries. The type of pain that is vascular pain usually feels like a muscle cramp, so it can be a little confusing. People tend to take magnesium and potassium to help with muscle cramps. If you're doing that and still getting muscle cramps, I want you to consider it might be vascular pain you're dealing with, like a client we saw this week. World of difference for them when we started to nourish up their blood vessels instead of trying to fight muscle cramps. And last but not least, irregular menses. One of the reasons I really like the hair tissue mineral analysis, it gives us info about a lot of toxic metals. There are absolutely toxic metals that will interfere with the way your body produces and reacts to hormones. So on the topic of irregular menses, there's something that I've seen again and again throughout my career, and that is that there is some degree of toxicity in the body, which we can often measure on a hair tissue mineral analysis. And when we address that toxicity, the things related to the irregular menses, the symptoms, start to go away. Just some of the stuff we've seen in the clinic this week. Did any questions roll in?
Not yet.
Cool. because I got stuff to talk about.
Cool.
Your one mic isn't on. Come here. Yeah. Oh, it is. Good. Okay. Apparently we had some microphone technical difficulties last week.
Just on the YouTube side.
Yeah. I'm not going to leave two boots hanging.
Mm-mm.
All right. Elephant in the room.
What's next?
Racing thoughts.
Oh,
Okay.
one of my favorite topics. With me every day.
Right. With so many people every day.
Yeah.
It's the day after the United States presidential election. So there are about 65 million people who voted for the loser of the election who are probably dealing with some racing thoughts. So I thought it was appropriate to go over things I've done clinically with clients in the past that help you deal with racing thoughts, especially since I expect quite a few people are going to be having some racing thoughts. Okay. Okay. On the topic of racing thoughts, they can be a superpower. Problem is they don't usually feel like a superpower, but our human brain is absolutely amazing. NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, has studied the known universe, and what they have determined is that the most complex thing in the known universe is the brain every one of us is walking around with. That's pretty cool. So we want to make sure that we're nourishing that thing and supporting it for function, for optimal function, because then really, really fast thoughts are something we can apply to our work, our responsibilities, the problems we're dealing with, okay? So basically, you want to put some brakes or a regulator for the brain so that the racing thoughts don't get away from you, or so you can decide when you use them. Like when you're driving your car, you have a brake pedal. You decide when you slow down. You're in control of slowing down your car. We want that same kind of thing for your thoughts. I got two favorites. They're both made by Standard Process. The first one is called Orchex. Oh man, Orchex is really good stuff. So this is big time brain soother. If you've been watching these live streams, you have no doubt heard me talk about Mintran before. I talk about Mintran as soothing for the body. Orchex is the equivalent for the brain. Very calming, very soothing. Okay? Non-habit forming. Non-drowsy. So this is a big deal. A lot of the things that people commonly go to help them deal with racing thoughts make you drowsy. There are a lot of prescription drugs out there that people take when they're dealing with racing thoughts on a regular basis that come with warnings like do not operate heavy machinery while you're using this compound, or for the first week that you're using this compound, make sure you're not alone. That's a weird warning. With Orchex, you can take it, you can operate heavy machinery as well as you could any other time. It's a brain soother, it's non-habit forming, it's non-drowsy. It is a whole food supplement, meaning it's made out of foods. So the only reason you would have a negative reaction to this is if you have an allergy to one of the foods that is inside Orchex. Now, most people on most days need 2 or 3 a day, but in case of extreme situations, you can very safely take a dozen a day. A lot of my clients start their day with 1 or 2 because they just want to soothe their brain right out of the gate when they get up in the morning. Other clients like to take 1 or 2 before bed because it helps their brain wind down before they go to sleep. Some clients have really stressful jobs, So they're taking 2 or 3 at breakfast, lunch, and dinner because they need to be calm before they go into work, get a boost into calm while they're at work, and when they go home, get some more calm so that they can have a good night also. Orchex, my go-to for soothing that brain. I got a second favorite one. It's called organically bound minerals. Now, this is also soothing. It's definitely some brain and body soothing. It's got a source of, or excuse me, it is a source of potassium and magnesium. It's got a little bit of iodine in there too. And then it's got quite a bit of trace minerals. Our modern food supply has been adulterated compared to what it was years ago. What's in organically bound minerals, again, it's a whole food supplement. I'm just going to put WFS on there, whole food supplement. And it contains a lot of the nutrients that used to naturally occur in the steak we would eat, the celery we would have, the eggs we would buy, et cetera, et cetera. But those nutrients are no longer present in those foods because of modern farming techniques, pollution in the air, pollution in the water, not letting soil rest the right way. All these different things add up. It's not just one thing, it's all those things together. So for a lot of people, their brain knows how to work the right way and wants to work the right way, but it's missing a lot of these nutrients that are in here, so it can't work the right way. You shouldn't get mad at your car for not running when you haven't put gas in it. So for a lot of brains, it just needs you to put the right kind of gas in it so it can work the right kind of way. These two are actually safe to take together. So if you're thinking, man, Drew, I like the sound of it, but my brain needs a lot of soothing, and my body could use some soothing also, and I'm really upset about what's happening right now, or I know 2 weeks from now I have something that's going to be really difficult. A client of mine was invited to her sister's wedding. She was pretty well estranged from her sister. She was told about the wedding, I think it was like 5 weeks or 6 weeks in advance. And then when it got to be 3 or 4 weeks in advance, the sister said, by the way, go in and get your dress fitted. You're standing in the wedding. And it just like lit her up. She was a candidate for using both, absolutely for using both. Okay. Racing thoughts. Any questions rolling on those?
Just checking YouTube, nothing there, and nothing
Okay.
on Instagram.
Okay. That's going to work out because I got another one to go over. The other elephant in the room. A little bit disappointed in you. I'll get over it. This entire time I've been streaming, you've had the ability to chat on YouTube, to send a chat on Instagram, or to call us. And not a single one of you has mentioned my mustache. I think that's a problem. I'm glad Lori's here to chuckle at that because I'm also totally joking. But I'm doing this because it's Movember. Movember. Okay. I want to make sure I take some time this month to talk about men's health.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a series of videos this month about some nutrients for guys. Nothing real fancy, nothing crazy in depth, just some basics. And the big deal that I find more so than any other topic of natural health, when I'm going to talk about men's health, I have got to provide my research sources. I have got to show studies. Statistically speaking, my experience tells me that men need more proof than women when it comes to the concept of natural health support. So this month, when I'm making men's health videos, I'm going to reference studies conducted at the university level. And why is that? Because there are plenty of studies conducted in other ways, but the amount of people who participated in the study is too small, or the study didn't go on long enough, or the study was not well designed, or the study was not peer reviewed, all these different reasons. But again and again, studies conducted at the university level are often peer reviewed, they often have a large number of participants, and they usually go on long enough to really determine outcomes, like big picture outcomes. It's not a 6-week study, it's a 16-week study. A month and a half is a very different amount of time than 4 months. So you can look for videos coming out this month on that topic. I also encourage you to grow out your mustache if you can. You know what? I'm going to be inclusive. Ladies too. Ladies, if you want to grow out a mustache this month so you support men's health, you go right ahead. Okay? We're going to talk about zinc. We're going to talk about vitamin F. Yes, that is a real vitamin. I'm not making things up. We're going to talk about prostate support. That's natural, especially some herbs that support the prostate. We're going to talk about things you can do for sperm health. It's a big deal in modern fertility cases. Historically, if there was trouble conceiving, it was considered a woman's problem. More and more in the recent years, we've seen that the health of the man is having a huge influence on the likelihood of conceiving, and that quite a few young men are having difficulty with things like sperm health. So we're going to talk about nutrients that help that. You can't talk men's health without talking about testosterone. Now, we're not talking about hormone replacement therapy. We're talking about natural ways to support the way your body makes and uses testosterone. Can't stress that last part enough. There are a lot of ways to make testosterone. You can take hormone replacement therapy. There's all sorts of supplements on the market that will get your body to produce testosterone. But we got to make sure that that testosterone gets to where it needs to go so it can actually get put to good use. We're going to talk about that too. So November is actually Movember. I'm growing out the stash. It's already working because clients see me with this ridiculous thing on my face. They're like, hey, nice mustache. What's going on with that? It's like, I'm glad you asked. It's so I can talk about men's health. And one lady, Nikki, who was in, she goes, yeah, but what does a mustache have to do with men's health? And I said, it literally got you talking to me about it so I could bring up men's health. She went, oh, it worked. Okay. So you'll see a series of videos on these topics coming up.
R. Schmitty likes the stash.
Who does?
R. Schmitty.
R. Schmitty,
Yeah.
thank you.
He said Burt Reynolds would be proud.
When I go to bed at night and I'm rubbing mustache oil on this to help facilitate it, I'm trying to invoke my higher Burt Reynolds. When was peak Burt Reynolds? Like 1981, 82? I'm thinking
sounds about right.
Magnum PI was at its like peak.
Yeah.
Thanks, R. Schmitty.
Yeah. We know who you are. You got to write his name out.
All right. Did any other questions roll into, Boots?
Not yet. On the screens here, nothing there.
Did you have stuff you wanted me to cover?
I have like a burning question.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the elderly people,
yeah.
they have a reputation for losing their hearing as they age. Yes.
Okay.
What causes something like that?
Very good question. Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about hearing. I won't pretend to be a hearing expert. Fun fact about Drew. Before I was a nutritionist, when I was finishing up college, and when I first started working in the field of nutrition, my second job, excuse me, my second job was to be a professional musician. So I worked quite a bit in recording studios, and I learned a lot about hearing and hearing loss because of that.
Ah,
Because there'd be people I would work with, we'd be listening to a song, and they'd say, "Oh, we got to change that. It doesn't sound like this, that, or the other. Can't hear the keyboard, or can't hear the drums." And the rest of us in the room would go, "Well, we could hear those keyboards. We could hear those drums. That person has some hearing loss."
mm,
So I'm going to speak from that experience,
mhm.
but not act like I'm a hearing expert.
Okay, fair enough.
Cool. All right, so hearing loss. The inner ear. It vibrates when sound comes in. So you've probably heard the term sound wave. Right now, my voice is making sound waves that the microphones are picking up, and then relaying that information. Okay. Those sound waves will vibrate the inner ear. That information gets translated to our brain, and we interpret that information. Okay. The vibrations in, or excuse me, the inner ear is incredibly sensitive. Really loud noises, especially for prolonged periods of time, can actually damage the structures in the inner ear. Okay? So that's one of the issues. They're sensitive, so loud noises can damage. I'll put sensitive, and they're also easily damaged.
Mm.
Now, when I say easily damaged, I just want to do a comparison to another part of your body. You can expose your elbow to really loud sounds for a really long time without ever damaging it. But if you expose your inner ear to loud sounds for a long period of time, it's very likely you're going to damage it. So that's what I mean by easily damaged. The second thing is this vibrates part. So sometimes junk like earwax accumulates, and then that decreases the vibrations. Those vibrations in the inner ear are what get translated by our brain so that we can understand the sound. The difference between leaves blowing across the ground versus a human voice. Very different sounds. The way that those sound waves vibrate our inner ears is crucial in terms of the difference, so our brain can interpret those different sounds taking place. So with the elderly,
Mhm.
they have had more time to be exposed to loud sound sources and get damaged.
Mhm.
They've also had more time to accumulate some garbage
Mhm.
and decrease the vibrations. And then, of course, they may have done both.
Mhm.
So the equipment is less sensitive and it's covered in junk. It's not going to work as well as it ought to. In our modern world, there's some really cool cameras that are super small that we can get into the ear and inspect the ear like never before in human history. So you can look especially for things like the junk deep in the ear and help clean it out.
To help. Yeah.
But we can get the cameras in deeper than we could just do a visual inspection without a camera.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
Well, yeah, I'm questioning the easily damaged part. Like I remember going to, say, a loud concert when I
Yeah,
was younger, and you come out of that, and there's definitely something off with the ears.
yeah,
Sometimes till the next morning, it
yeah,
seems, right? Is that something that is repairable at that point, or is that real permanent damage
yeah.
to some degree?
I like that question. So the workings of the inner ear, there's a couple of different parts. One part is called the tympanic membrane.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about a drum,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Like the head of the drum, the part the drummer hits.
Yeah.
That's basically what we have in each ear, because that'll pick up those vibrations, those sound waves.
Okay.
When that gets damaged, it is almost impossible to repair. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's other parts of the inner ear, like there are some bones in there and some structural things. Those can be repaired. Um, they're still very difficult to repair, not nearly as difficult as that tympanic membrane when it gets damaged.
Yeah.
So chances are when you walked out of the concert when you were younger,
Mm-hmm.
you had either damaged the tympanic membrane to some extent or walked right up to the edge of it.
Well, I hear fine, so it wasn't
Cool.
anything permanent.
There's an ear protection company that I really like. I go to a lot of rock and roll shows. I love live music. I want to be able to keep going to that and enjoy it. The company has a hilarious name. The company name is Eargasm.
Wow.
They make earplugs that reduce the overall volume of the music, but very evenly across the different frequencies. So the music or the person's voice that you're listening to still sounds good. The complaint of a lot of earplug products is that when you put them in, the music starts sounding awful. It's muffled, it's muddy, loses all of its clarity. I've worn these to probably about a dozen concerts now, and every time I get about 20 minutes into listening to it, and I go, I don't think I put these in right. This sounds too good. And then I take them out, and it gets noticeably louder. I was like, oh, no, those were working. Okay. I throw them back in, and I'm really happy with what I can hear without feeling like I'm getting overwhelmed.
Cool.
So, so check out Eargasm.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Ryan has a question here.
Cool.
How about the connection between shorter days, reduction in sunlight, vitamin D, and skin health and mental health? Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Example, he says, I was told that sometimes vitamin D deficiency can cause skin flaking.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the connection between shorter days, reduction in sunlight, vitamin D, and skin health and mental health.
Now let's get into it.
Okay.
All right, shorter days. First of all, total bummer if you love being outdoors, and if you love sunshine, because there's just less opportunity for it. Okay? There's a little bit of a myth about vitamin D and sunshine. I am now going to try to draw the lower 48 states of America. I'm going to remind all of you that I'm a nutritionist and not an artist. There's a point to this. All right, so we're going to start with Maine. I think it goes like that. Then it comes down, and then we got Florida. Then we go there, and that's kind of like Texas. I don't really know. And then we got California, and we're just going to pretend that that's good enough. That looks like the world's worst cow.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Whatever. You get the idea. Right here is that Texas part. It's kind of like that. Does that help? All right. Below this line, the sunshine really matters. It really counts when we are exposed to sunlight south of the panhandle of Texas on our skin. It helps us produce vitamin D. Anything north of that line, the sunlight, because the angle at which sunlight comes in through the Earth's atmosphere, it doesn't really do anything for us. Sunshine still feels good on our skin. It does other things for us, but it does not help that vitamin D thing. So since we are approximately here in Wisconsin, not getting as much sunshine for the sake of vitamin D is not that big of a deal. There are other things sunshine does for us that helps mood. So what I would say is keep this in mind, that unless we're basically in the south half of the country, our vitamin D production was never going to be that hot anyways. Think about sunshine, just in general, is what helps mood. So what I usually encourage clients to do is at some point in the morning, get up, go outside. Even if it's cold, you can put on a jacket and all that good stuff, and get your face up to the sun. Please close your eyes when you do this. I can't believe that I have to say that, but it's 2024. Sunshine helps mood. It helps establish things like our circadian rhythm, which tells our body what time of day to make certain hormones, to be excited or to get calmer. And if we do that in the morning, it's far more effective than if we wait till midday or if we wait till after work. So I understand that vitamin D has some positive influences on brain health, but I have seen that sunshine in any part of the country is the bigger factor in the good mood. So don't worry about the sunshine isn't potent enough for vitamin D. Still get the sunshine, because that's the big part that's going to help the mood. Okay. Now let's go to the next part. All right, so vitamin D and dry skin. A little bit of science to this, because vitamin D has a lot of action in the liver, which helps us process fats. And good fat processing is one of the things that helps hydrate skin. Here's the good news. Vitamin D is one of many nutrients that the liver needs to optimally process fat. So if you are experiencing a vitamin D deficiency, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have dry skin. And there are a lot of nutrients involved in helping the liver process fats, which will help us deal with dry skin. So I like the idea of a lot of people taking vitamin D. I don't think it should be quite as popular as it is. But keep in mind, if you're having dry skin, we should really look at what's going on with the liver in terms of its fat processing. All right, what was the other part to that too, Boots?
Oh, just there was another. I think you kind of covered it. Just wanted to know the suggestions for sunlight and mental health, and I think you did that with the mood.
Cool. The last thing I always like to bring up about vitamin D.
Sunshine.
All right, so we shouldn't actually call it a vitamin. It's technically a hormone. So that point that I was just making, that I think I'm still going to call it vitamin D because I want to make sure everybody knows what I'm referring to. And for some reason, hormone D sounds really inappropriate to me when I say it out loud. So with vitamin D, because it is technically a hormone, when people are taking it, I want to make sure they understand that you are participating in hormone replacement therapy. You are eating a hormone, and that's going to affect hormone levels in your body. All the hormones in your entire body are just a circle of arrows. So when you change one, eventually it's all just going to come back around to the start. Vitamin D is just one of them. So I get that it's good for you, and I get that it can help a lot of things, but I often hear people taking extraordinary doses of it, and I'm not necessarily on board with that, because I wouldn't want to do the same kind of thing with other hormones in your body. That's my vitamin D spiel.
All right.
And then Ryan, let me know if that helped.
No other questions right now rolling in, Drew?
Cool.
Yeah.
Y'all know the rules.
Yep, Ryan says, yep, all good. Great job.
Cool. Hey, thanks for asking a question, man. Sincerely, we love the participation around here. Used to do a lot of workshops. I should bring that up.
Why don't you?
Used to do a lot of workshops, then COVID happened and people stopped gathering.
Yeah.
That really bums me out. I think the idea of community is really important. And one of the things that I got to do at a lot of those workshops was bring together people who would not usually be brought together, and bring together people who disagreed about stuff, and then we could have a conversation. It was great. I feel like we lost a lot of that during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing it back.
Yes.
And nothing can stop it, okay? So what color am I going to use? Blue.
Mm-hmm.
That's our color here, because I don't have an indigo marker. As soon as I have an indigo marker, we'll do that. The second Thursday of every month. Did I choose at noon?
On Thursday, it's going to be at noon.
Yeah,
yes.
I thought so. Live workshop. We want butts and seats. I bought all these chairs for your butts. Please come put your butts in my chairs. Again, I'm saying things that shouldn't sound as dirty as they sound. And then 10 days later each month. So we're going to call it the third Saturday. It's not always the third Saturday because there's some weird calendar stuff every now and then. So just hear me when I say it's 10 days later. The third Saturday at 10 a.m. A workshop with a different topic. Okay. Second Thursday of each month at noon, one topic. 10 days later on Saturday at 10 a.m., different topic. All these workshops are usually about a 45-minute presentation, followed with time for questions and answers. If you are a client here at 3D, these are free to you. Now, I want to put them online also, but I'm going to have to figure out some kind of system so that it isn't just generally online and anybody can watch. Until I figure that out, if you are a client of 3D, it's free to you and a +2, so 3 people in total. You just have to be a client here. So next week, Thursday, is the first one of these that we're doing. Lori, was that digestion?
Yes.
Yeah. So next Thursday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow.
The 14th.
I'm presenting on digestion. And then 10 days after that, that's the fatigue workshop.
I think it is, yes.
Yep. Then we're doing fatigue 10 days after that. So how to produce energy and all that stuff. I'm going to go over hot words that people are getting like revved up about, like it's brand new things. Mitochondria, ATP. I'm going to go over these things and why they're getting blown way out of proportion. So week from tomorrow, digestion. 10 days after that, fatigue. If you're a client at 3D, they're free for you. If you have questions about becoming a client at 3D, here's the ways to get a hold of us. Because then all these workshops, I'm going to do 2 of these a month for the indefinite future, you'll have access to. You'll be invited to with a +2. I'll be adding these and keeping these Wednesday weekly workshops. We love having all of you here for these. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching and for sharing these things. Our subscribership on YouTube keeps growing. We love that. Number of followers on Instagram keeps going. We love that too. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for a Wednesday weekly workshop where you get to ask Drew anything. Have a great week, everybody.